This is the HTC First Screen Repair Guide brought to you by Repairs Universe. To perform this repair, we're going to use a safe open pry tool, a small Phillips screwdriver, and adhesive strips if you're replacing the screen. First thing you want to do is just make sure that the device is fully powered off. So we're just going to power it off right now before we begin. Next step is going to be to remove the SIM card tray, which is located on the right side here. We're just going to use a paper clip or you can use a SIM card removal tool. Just push a small button and pop the SIM card out. And from here, we're now ready to remove the back cover. Surprisingly, on this device, it's actually quite easy. I suggest starting near the sides here, just running your pry tool along the sides and just releasing those clips. The best way to remove this is releasing all the clips on the sides and then on the bottom, and then you'll be able to shimmy out the full assembly from the back housing. So we are just releasing the clips on the bottom. As you can see, it's coming apart quite nicely. Apply a little bit of pressure and try to separate them. And there we go. Take note that the speaker assembly, the loudspeaker assembly, just fell out on the bottom here. It's just held in place with a few clips. So to remove that, all you need to do is just apply a little bit of pressure and pull it out. And there's your loudspeaker. That's the only main component on the back cover here. So just going to put that to the side. And now we're going to use a small Phillips screwdriver and remove 5 small Phillips screws. They're displayed on the left side. These are all going to be the same size, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. Once all these are released, there's going to be one clip up here in the top right that you just kind of have to watch out for. Once you release that, this plastic cover is going to come right off. Now we're just going to want to remove the heat shield tape here. It's going to be held in place with a little bit of adhesive, so all you need to do is just grab a corner, start peeling it up. You want to do your best to keep this as fully intact as possible. So there we go. I'm just going to put that off to the side and reuse it when we reassemble. First thing we want to do though is remove the battery connection right here. So to do that, it's just a simple pop connector. I'm just going to pop that up. Now the battery itself is going to be held in place with a little bit of adhesive, so just work your way around the outside edges, just kind of releasing some of that adhesive. You want to be careful on the top right of the battery, as there is a flex cable located underneath. You don't want to damage that. Just work carefully up in that corner. Just take a little bit of time and be sure you don't bend the battery or damage it in any way. And then once you have enough grip, you just remove it. Just going to put that off to the side. We're just going to have a few more connections that we need to release from the motherboard. So up here, on the side here, an antenna cable and the LCD flex. So we're just going to release this antenna cable, that way it gives us enough room to work on this jaw connector, which is located underneath this tape here. So we're just going to peel back that tape, exposing that jaw connector. And we're just going to lift up on the white tab and then use our pry tool to just release that flex cable and move it away from the connection. On the top here we have the touchscreen flex cable. It's just a simple pop connector. Just use your pry tool and apply a little bit of pressure. And the final one is going to be this volume button flex cable, which is going to be just adhesive holding onto the housing. So we're just going to get underneath the connection, or underneath the buttons, and begin lifting it. The adhesive is pretty strong, but you just want to make sure that you're very careful with this because you don't want to damage that flex cable. It's a little bit out of frame here, but it's just releasing that adhesive. So once that adhesive is released, you can just fold that away. And now we're ready to remove the motherboard. So we're going to start up in the top right corner. Just use your safe open pry tool. It's going to be held in place with a little bit of adhesive here on the side, so we're just going to take our time. Just kind of help lift it away. You don't want to put too much pressure on the motherboard. So now on the very bottom right of the motherboard is going to be a pop connector, which is located underneath here. It's going to release itself when you lift it away, but just make sure you take note of that when you reassemble. On the motherboard itself, here we have the volume button flex cable. It's just a simple jaw connector. And we also have the front camera and the rear camera. Front camera is the same thing, just a simple jaw connection. And under here is going to be your main camera. That's about it on the motherboard, so we're just going to put that to the side. The only other main component here is going to be the ear speaker, which we're going to use a flathead screwdriver just to get a little bit more grip, a little bit more sturdy grip underneath the speaker. It's going to be held in place with quite a bit of adhesive. It's really strong adhesive, so just take your time when removing this. This is not necessary to remove if you're just replacing the screen, but if you want to replace the speaker, it's as simple as that. So there we go. Your speaker's now been removed. Next step is just going to remove this black tape, which is covering part of the LCD flex cable on the bottom here. Just going to peel that back, and it's going to have a little bumper here. It goes right along where the bottom of the battery sits. Just going to put that off to the side. And the final flex cable here on the bottom, we're just going to leave intact. It's going to hold your mic and a few other small components, but we're just going to leave that while we heat the screen assembly. So to heat the screen assembly, basically we're just going to try to loosen up the adhesive that's holding the screen assembly to the housing. This adhesive is very strong, so we highly suggest using a heat gun or a hair dryer. Right here we're just going to use a hair dryer. Use on like a medium setting, a few inches away. As you can see here, I'm getting pretty close up to it. I'm just trying to heat some of that adhesive. It's going to take quite some time, so just work slowly. Make sure you don't overheat anything. It takes normally about 45 seconds to a minute on a low to medium heat. It's always better to heat less and reheat later compared to overheating. So keep that in mind. So there we go. Once it's fully heated, we're just going to use your safe open pry tool. I'm just going to start shimming it around, trying to release some of that adhesive. As you can tell, it is quite hot, so it's difficult to kind of work on. You could use gloves, but it just takes a few seconds for it to cool down, so it's easy enough. As you can tell, that side is a lot easier to release than the top and the bottom. The top and bottom are going to have a lot more adhesive than the sides. That's usually a good starting spot, especially on this device. So just going to continue working around, just releasing that adhesive. As you can see, some of it's starting to release right there. There we go, it's beginning to lift a little bit more. Just apply a little bit of pressure and try to separate it a little bit. Now we can fit your pry tool underneath, and that's when you really are able to release a lot of adhesive. So you want to make sure you get underneath the LCD screen when you get enough room, like right there. Attempt to get underneath the LCD screen so that way when you're releasing the adhesive, you're not trying to separate the LCD from the touchscreen at the same time. So there we go, we got that bottom adhesive released. Just begin peeling it back. A good method here is just to reheat the top. I'm going to tuck in that touchscreen flex cable and just reheat it. And now you can just use the pressure of separating it to release that adhesive. Usually leaves the adhesive quite a bit more intact, and pretty simple way of just releasing it. So there we go. As you can tell, it's getting a lot more play. It's good leverage. Now we're just going to slide that touchscreen flex cable through that little slot in the housing, and there we go. There's our touchscreen and LCD assembly on the right and the front housing on the left. All the parts and tools used in this video can be found at repairsuniverse.com. Also, if you found this video useful, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel or on this video. And also be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching.